A lot actually. I think we've been training now for 10, 11 days. I think we started as one of the first team in the WSL in general. But they're working very hard. I think preseason is all about making connections, making sure we have a good base level when it comes to conditioning. I think those elements are really coming through. We're seeing a good group. We're seeing a group of players that are willing to put in extra efforts. Compared with the group last season, we also see that there is more willingness, more grit. They really want to put in a lot of work. I think that was also the reaction of a few girls. I had a discussion yesterday or the day before with Paige, with Kate, where they said like there is a big difference just in terms of mentality. There is a big willingness, and I think that's what we've been seeing the first few weeks, and trying to settle everyone in, trying to make sure everyone feels comfortable in the environment. And from what we've seen so far, it's all good, to be honest.
There was quite a bit of turnover on the roster, players coming in and out. As far as the ones that were coming in, how much say did you have in who was brought in, and what were you looking for in bringing in players?
I mean, I think it was the first year last season, so basically you put together a group, you try to see what a team needs, but starting from scratch is really hard. So the turnover is, I think, honestly, a logical something. Making a group, making sure you have a philosophy, you have a DNA. And then I think we just had a very honest and very good conversation with the 3 or 4 of us, as in making sure we want from a tactical point of view, you want good players, but also look at personalities. I think we want to be a team that is really tough to beat, high pressing team, a team that is resilient. So whenever you say those kind of words, you have to make sure that they also fit with players that you bring in. So I think I think honestly we had a very good open relationship with front office, and we made decisions together. As much as it was possible for us to make decisions together, we did it. So no complaints on that side, to be honest.
And then lastly for me, you mentioned a couple conversations with Kate and Paige there. Paige was the captain last year, obviously. What does the leadership group look like for this year's team, and will Paige continue as the captain?
Paige will continue as a captain. I think she did a good job last season, and she showed what she's capable of on and off the pitch. I think she represents the community as well. She goes out to the community. She's a big part of the brand that we as a team, the brand that we as an organization want to represent within the community. I think she's doing a great job, so I don't see any reasons why she shouldn't. The only thing we'll adjust towards this season will be slightly different than last season. Obviously you have a captain, but it shouldn't be just one player leading a team. I think we have a roster of 26 players. They all should be able to lead in their own way, and I think that's what we've been in the last few weeks, making sure that we understand each and everyone's capability of leading a group. Might be a silent leader, might be a motivational leader, might be all sorts of leaders, but we have to find out what the capabilities are of these players, of these individuals, and then make sure they pick up a role towards the team.
How has the team been gelling so far in preseason?
How they've been training in general?
Yeah.
Gelling together.
Integrating.
One, they don't complain. I think that's the most important part of what we do so far. We had a few tough weeks, I'm not gonna lie. I think if you have to run between 40 and 60K a week, that's quite tough. But then when I say that there were no complaints, we just do what we have to do on a daily basis. And they got along. I think Tatum has been great for the group. She walked in the building, a bit hesitant on the first day, but ever since she's been great to the group. She really fits into the group. I think it was also good for us to have a few Spanish-speaking players to make sure that Guzman integrates well. Young player, 19 years old, but really skilled, really talented. So we have to make sure she feels comfortable in the environment. So in general, I think we have to be happy about how they get along, how we're forming a group. But it's also been the 3rd week, so no tough decisions have been made yet. So I think that's also when you go to a phase where you have to make decisions, where you have to be competitive within the team. That's when you see the real elements of team bonding, the real elements of team dynamics coming up, and I think that's going to be interesting in the upcoming weeks. But honestly, so far, again, I think they're a real group. They get along. They're very competitive on the pitch. They're there to make some falls on the pitch when necessary, but whenever we step off the pitch, it's all settled and we're all ready. So I think that's a positive element.
The coaching staff is larger than it was last year. How are the new coaches doing?
Very good, actually. I think we'll announce one more assistant coach in the upcoming weeks. I think, yes, we have a bigger staff than last season, but I think we also shifted towards staff with specialists. As we brought in every department, we brought in a real specialist in the matter at hand, which is really important. if I look at the head of performance that we have this season, is quite particular in how we work, what we want to do, is able to set out the big lines towards other staff members, and I think also on that part of what we do on a daily basis, the players have been very, very positive so far, which is important to us as well. Because in the end, and I repeat myself, and I said it last season, our goal is to make the most competitive environment for the player. And I feel like with the people that we have in the building, but also the quality that we have in the building, both on players and staff side, we can make it really competitive. And I think that's what we want to do on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Coach, we've had the advantage of having the majority of the team sit in that chair before you, so we've heard a lot about what they feel like your style is. A word that keeps coming up is detail-oriented, or words, or theme is detail-oriented. This may be an unfair preamble to my question, but are you familiar with the American Division I basketball coach, John Wooden, the Wizard of Westwood? Have you ever heard that name?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he was famous for, at the beginning of a new season, bringing players in, and first day he would teach them how to put on socks, make sure that the line was correct on the toe line, and how to tie their shoes. How detailed are you as a coach? Because it sounds like you're almost John Wooden level, so what's your style?
Well, they are all wearing white socks, so I think that's maybe a first step. No, I think I just like structure and discipline, not to an extent where a player feels uncomfortable or unsafe, but just to an extent where the lines are very clear, the roles and responsibilities are very clear. I think that was our first day in the office, making sure everyone understood their role, both on staff and player side. And when it comes to details, I work with really good people on a daily basis. Like I said, I work with specialists. I have a performance analyst, which in my opinion is one of the best ones I've ever seen. The way that they make analysis of a training session of a game is different, it's really different, which is really important. And again, like I said, we work with really good people and we're able to put in the details. How detail oriented I am, I couldn't be able to give you the answer, but I do know I spend a lot of time on just watching how people move, how people interact on a pitch, and if you can bring that to the player, that gives them the impression you're really detail oriented. But to us, it just makes sense in terms of a DNA, a playing style. Like every detail matters. I think this league was the league in the world with the most one-goal difference games, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a detail. That's 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a detail in a game. So you have to make sure you have the details right. And if you have them right, you can have a great season. So that's what it's all about for us this season, making sure we have every detail that we can manage and we can control. We have to make sure we have them right.
You said a word there that made me think of a follow-up. You watch how people interact on the pitch. You have a lot of versatility and depth in positions that maybe you didn't have last year due to injury and other things. But what's it going to take for a player to win a spot in that starting 11, because you do have that depth that you haven't seen previously?
I think versatile is one of our style anchors. It's also one of the elements that we brought to the team on our second day in. We explained that we want to be versatile. The reason why is, and again referring to the magnificent staff that we have, they made analysis on what it takes to be a top 6, top 8 team. So we definitely want to reach the playoffs this season. That's a sportive ambition. And we made a good analysis of what we need to be in that top 8. And when we look at the teams that are able to do that, we saw that they had a deep striker, they had a pocket striker, they had a striker that can come into the ball, one that can get in behind. And based upon all those parameters, based upon all those information entries, we made our squad and we made our roster. So we brought in Aisha. I think everyone knows she scores 3 goals against Seattle. She was three times she went in behind the defense on a magnificent ball. And we have Mina. Mina is a player that likes to get it feet. We have Ali, who has a long distance shot, and we have Macy, who's an excellent one-on-one player. So definitely we have the depth that we wanted this season. We'll be able to be a bit more flexible when it comes to making subs in the end. But then again, as a coach, and one of the things I appreciate is the nature of a player. And if we have a one-on-one player, if we have a running player, we got to make sure they run, and we got to make sure they can go into the one-on-ones. I think Brecken said it last season as well. We got to put them in the positions where they do on a training session, where they do 70 times what they do in a game. That's our goal. And when we have this depth, we know that we're able to go into a game and make decisions during a game, make subs during a game, but also just tactically change a game. And I think that's a good work that the front office did, 100%. That's what we asked for, and I think they delivered it pretty well. Looking at the transfer we announced today, I think we found ourselves a left outside back that can play as a winger, but also can play as a pocket player. So, I mean, that's all good things to have.
Thank you.
Jimmy, I'm always curious about culture, and I feel like I want to ask you to maybe compare and contrast the volatility and the very dynamic time it was last year, 6-8 months ago when you came in, and then maybe compare and contrast that with the foundation that maybe you feel like you have now in this 10-week preseason, and how that informs the growth of the club and the growth of the locker room.
Well, coming back on the turnover that we talked about earlier today, I think one of the biggest things that we wanted to do is change the culture of the building. Did we have to change a lot? No. After one season, I'm not saying there was a huge culture. Coming in after 6 months, I think we were able to just introduce briefly what we want to do. So 2025 for us was a blank sheet and starting all over again. And basically we looked at the players that we have at hand. We looked at the region of Utah just in general. I think there's a beautiful state. I think people that move out to this state want to have adventures, want to go for a hike, want to do sports elements. So that's one of our cultural elements as well. We want adventurous players. We want to take a risk on a pitch. We want to do the one-on-ones. We want to be that in-possession team that plays out from the back. So I think all of those elements were translated into words, were translated into actions. But again, I think when we came to the last day of the season, last season, and I remember sitting back in Harriman, and the players were asked, like, if you have to sum up this season in one word, I think resilient was probably the word they used the most, which I think we would like to give another definition to resilient this season, but in a positive way. I think we will be resilient in a way that each and every day we're there to compete again and again and again, and translate those negative connotations of last season into positive connotations this season. I think that's the biggest goal. And I think the players walked in the building, and the first thing we said during the first PowerPoint we gave is 2024 is done. Like, as much as we would like to compare ourselves, as much as players would like to compare themselves, it's done. There's nothing we can change about it anymore. We have to learn from it and move forward, and that's what we did with the group. And when it comes to culture is something that lives within a building. We have slides on it, we have PowerPoints, everything, but in the end it's coming in at 7:30, treating your body well, leaving at 4, treating your body even better in the evening, making sure you have rest in the evening, making sure you make the right decisions. That's culture, and culture is lived by an individual and by a group of individuals. But I truly believe that if the individuals within this group, and I think we do, can live up to the standards and the culture that we want to introduce, the team will behave in the same way. And I think that's what we're trying to do, and that was also a big exercise or a big thing of making sure we brought in the right people into the building. You can bring in magnificent players, but they might not be the right people for your building. So I think I gotta be honest, we didn't have a lot of online calls, we didn't have a lot of one-on-ones with players. I think if we tried to get, let's say, 12 people in the building, we managed to get 7 of them in the building, so we're very precise on who we wanted in the building, and all of that based upon personality assessments, making sure again that they live up to the standards that we want to have, but also that they fit with the state of Utah. I think this is a beautiful state, and I was talking to Alex Luera a few days ago as well. Said, like, I feel home. She said, like, this is just amazing. I can do all the activities I would like to do by myself. I think that's the kind of people you want to have in the building, and I mean, so far so good.
In that recruitment process, how would you, I guess, describe the importance of the facilities, of your philosophy, and of ownership vision for what this club could mean to this community?
Well, to put it in order, I think ownership made it very clear what type of environment we have to be for the player and individual, meaning that we want to be a healthy, good environment for every individual to become a better human being, better player as well. That was transferred into the building where we were working on a daily basis. I think the facilities came along with the wish of making sure we have a good environment for every individual, and then we transferred all of that looking at the players that really want to put in the work. So I think in all the recruitment talks that we had, my last question, or one of my questions, was like, what do you want to be in 2 years? What do you want to be, and where do you want to be? And to a certain extent you see fire in people's eyes, and some might, I remember KK saying she wants to be one of the top wingers in the league within the next 4 years. That's good, let's do it. We'll do everything we can. And I mean, we have a building, we have a great staff, we'll create an environment and we'll support the player until the player is ready to jump. Whatever jump is, wherever they want to go, we have to make sure we're able to support them in every possible way. And I think ownership has been very supportive, the building has been very supportive in general, and now it's up to the players themselves, because you can have an amazing building and you can have all the facilities you want, but if you walk in and out, what's the use of having a great facility? And I quote myself, or I give a quote that I gave last season as well. Ketel Fava is in at 720, doing cold bath, warm bath, treatment, sauna, gym, and then the first or the other players come in. And I mean, that's using a facility. She was doing that as the only player last season, and now we have 6, 7, 8 players coming in doing the same. I think that's a bit the evolution of culture. That's the creating a habit, making sure people don't want to miss out on what others are doing, and that's eventually what we want to reach with this group. And I think overall a good environment to be in as an individual, 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, the biggest narrative last year was the growth of the squad under your tenure. I was just curious, looking at you as an individual, as a coach, seeing your growth as an NWSL coach in your time, and follow that up if you have any personal goals for yourself this year.
Yeah, the personal goal is, I mean, we go from a staff of, let's say, 6 people to a staff of almost 15 people, to be honest. I think we really invested in having the right people in the building. So my job shifted from being a very operational someone to making sure everyone is doing what they should be doing on a daily basis. Everyone is managing the processes, and the processes are there to make sure the players are feeling well. I think that's my biggest goal for this season, making sure that, one, we have a clear goal, track our progress towards that goal, and making sure we're all working towards the same goal. Next to that, I think I'm someone that values authenticity. So my goal is the same this season, be as authentic as I want to be and I can be within the environment that I work in. And I'm very straightforward, I'm very open and transparent with every player that we have in the building. And I think that's what I want to do this season again. So personal goal is quite simple, be as competitive and successful as we can be this season as a team, as an individual, and as an organization.